Square and Compass podcast or Square and Compass live stream, excuse me. I know it's been a little while, so it's great to be back doing these live streams. I was traveling Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I made it to, well, Chicago and then Ann Arbor. Well, Chicago, Glenview, and then Ann Arbor, Michigan. I got to visit, and actually Rosemont, Illinois as well, I should mention. So, Chicago, Illinois, Glenview, Illinois, Rosemont, Illinois, and then Ann Arbor, Michigan. As a consequence of that, I didn't have the chance to do my normal live streams. However, I was continuing with my February push-up challenge. 20 or 2,000 push-ups over 23 days. We're still on track to get there. I did push-ups at various places in Chicago, in Glenview, and in Ann Arbor, Michigan. This morning, I did so many push-ups in my bedroom, so not quite as fun, but I did stream it. So let's give it a few minutes. Let's see who joins. The first 60 minutes is just going to be talking about Freemasonry and answering any questions, ideas, thoughts people may have. I've been a Freemason for just about 20 years, and I have visited Masonic lodges and buildings around the world, done my research. I don't know everything about Freemasonry. However, I can hopefully share with you some general info. We, in honor of President's Day, we're completing a favorite Masonic presidential poll. Our favorite Masonic presidents. We have, as of right now, we did it in a bracket system. So, let me just see if I can pull it up. Oops. I will in 1 second, I promise. But can you please hit the like and subscribe button? So the first round, it was 4 brackets of 4 individuals, 4 Masonic presidents, excuse me, which was, let me see if I can get the brackets. All right, it was, so the bracket number 1, favorite Masonic president contest, round 1, bracket 1, George Washington, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, James K. Polk. George Washington, very well in the lead with 89% of the vote. Round 1, bracket 2, James Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, James Garfield, William McKinley. James Garfield at 38% is in the lead. Interesting. Bracket 3, Theodore Roosevelt, William H. Taft, Warren G. Harding, Franklin D. Roosevelt. That was pretty much a 50-50 split almost. Franklin Roosevelt got 56%. Theodore Roosevelt got 44%. And then round 1, bracket 4, Harry Truman, Lyndon B. Johnson, Gerald Ford, and Joe Biden, whose membership is disputed. Harry Truman in the lead with 75%. So the 4 winners of the first round was Harry Truman, or is technically, Harry Truman, Theodore Roosevelt, James Garfield, George Washington. So then I created a second, hello Roy the Human Billboard, I created a second set of brackets with the 4 winners. So I said favorite Masonic president contest, round 2, bracket 1, George Washington versus James Garfield. George Washington is well in the lead. And then round 2, bracket 2, Harry Truman versus Franklin Roosevelt. Franklin Roosevelt is well in the lead. I was born this way, study with me. So with that in mind, we're going to create here another another poll, excuse me. Let's see. Favorite Masonic president poll. Final round. And the two choices are George Washington or Franklin. Oops. I just have to write this. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Let's see what people think. Well, you can be both in a wheelchair and a Freemason. I am one of them, so that's absolutely possible. Hello, Dream Seeker. Welcome back. How goes your day? And keep up the great work with the hello, Gooey. Thank you for being here. Keep up the great work, Dream Seeker, with all your different channels. I know they're going really well. So keep it up. Just sending a quick message for the 19th. Dun, dun, dun. We're going to keep that poll up for a little while. We'll see who finds it. And then what I'm going to do is, whichever one wins, I'm going to do a podcast episode about them. Now, I've already talked about George Washington in the past, but it wouldn't hurt to probably talk about him again. I like salad, Mr. Fox. In fact, yesterday I had a great salad in Ann Arbor at a really special double first degree in Ann Arbor. They actually gave me a really cool coin as a collectible, so I got to show that off at some point as well on this stream. But sure, Freemasons should do more to eat healthy. I think that's the biggest key. Right? I think that's something we should be doing more of in general. I don't think we do it near enough, is actually try to eat healthy, including having salads. Usually, I mean, it's part of it's because it's just convenient, right? But very often within Freemasonry, we will have we will be having donuts, cookies. I mean, I'm not one to complain. I will always be eating those. However, maybe as Freemasons, we should try to think about if it's possible for us to be a little bit better when it comes to the health of our brethren. He was. Well, we had him in the vote, Sergio. Again, we started with 4 brackets, each one having 4 different Masonic presidents in it. And then from there, we took the winning 4 of each bracket. We created a second round, 2 versus 2. And then the winners of those 2 brackets, George Washington and FDR, we put in this channel here. So, in this live stream here. So, we're going to see who wins. Yes, Toom, I got a big forehead. Well, Teddy Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt were both Freemasons, which people don't realize. But they were both Freemasons. So that's a cool little note. You voted for Roosevelt? Okay, cool. I hate them both, but I love George. Why do you hate? I mean, I think certainly both Teddy and Franklin were absolutely excellent presidents. But I mean, everybody has their own opinion. This isn't really here to talk about what we think of them politically so much as it is us talking about more just what it is, well, I suppose when you're making your decision as to which one you prefer, you are kind of making a political decision in some ways, which is fine, right? I guess the point is, Everybody gets to decide for themselves. So if you love George Washington, then hey, vote for George. And by the way, I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to Shaq being a Mason is cool enough, to everybody who's been doing the comments on my YouTube videos. Comments are a huge deal. It helps out majorly with getting it helps out, really, really does help in terms of engagement, right? What YouTube monitors more than anything else, and what YouTube uses when deciding which streams is going to push and which streams is not going to push, is engagement. Basically, I've got 100% more comments within the last 28 days than from the previous 28 days. That does. I mean, now, by the way, please consider doing that. Please consider sharing this stream. You can share it many different ways, including just by sharing a link, or you can cut it up. Most of my videos you are able to cut up and kind of use as clips. So please consider doing that. Freemasons do not run Congress. Zohab. Freemasons do not run any branches of government or parts of government. That's not what Freemasonry is all about. So, very sorry to disappoint you. I appreciate that, Dream Seeker. Yeah, a lot of my content is cuttable, it's clippable. And if you want to do that, that would be wonderful and would be much, much appreciated. I will say this, though. I'm going to give everybody a little bit of I consider myself a professional traveler. Normally, I'm pretty good about doing this, but for whatever reason, I didn't do it this time. If you are traveling, make sure you do your chores before you leave. I did not do that. I decided to leave them for when I got back. And of course, what happens is I come back and I have all of my chores to do, all my laundry to do, all that jazz. So let that be a lesson to you. Orange Diamond, Freemasons, welcome, Orange Diamond. Please, well, Zohab, I'm going to get that wrong again, I'm sure, but I apologize if I got your name incorrect in the past. The Freemasonry, it's a civic and civil institution or group that evolved from stonemasonry guilds in the Middle Ages. It's been around for, oh my gosh, over 300 years, which is crazy to think it's been that long. It's something I've been a part of for 20 years, but think of it as a civic or social organization or group, a club, if you will. Yes, welcome, Orange Diamond. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. And I hope you're having a great day. I don't recognize the name, so you must be new. And if you're asking what is Freemasonry, you're definitely new. So thank you for being here. The first 60 minutes, I don't have any specific topics. I just hang out and chat about whatever. The second 60 minutes is when I tend to have my specific topics. In this case, it's going to be the United Kingdom's decision regarding Metropolitan Police and Freemason disclosure. Oops. I shared the info already via a link on my channels and on my social media. The Guardian has a great article about it, as does BBC, but yeah. I don't know what that means, Zohabe. I don't know what an inverted swastika is. I mean, many groups used some version of the swastika. Like it was very popular amongst Buddhist and Hindu groups. I've never heard of Freemasons using it, but I know previous to its adoption by the Nazi Party, it was actually used by, I think, Buddhism primarily, and Eastern cultures. It's funny, I think it was Mexico, and I came across a temple that had actually the swastika on the tower, and it was a Buddhist or a Hindu temple. So I heard about that, Zohab. Um, so yeah, I did hear about that. I mean, we'll see what happens if Prince Andrew committed any crimes, which it looks like based on the Epstein files, there's some very shady things happening. Then he should go to jail, and hopefully, if the police can use his investigation to find other individuals who committed crimes on Epstein's Island, then they should go to jail too. We'll see what happens. Well, Zohaib, I mean, I guess what I can say is, I guess you see what you want to see. So for example, there are no Freemasons, to my knowledge, referenced in the Epstein files. I talked about this on a previous channel, or previous stream, excuse me. There's no evidence that so for example, Epstein wasn't a Mason, Prince Andrew's not a Mason, Ghislaine Maxwell's not a Mason. There is no indication that there are any Masons actually going to Epstein Island or flying on the jet, etc., etc. Um, but again, it's one of those things where. So Bill Clinton was not a Freemason. He was a Demolay member, interestingly enough. Now, Demolay is a Masonic youth group. You have to be, if I recall correctly, between 9 and 21 to be a member. Uh, but he did not become a Freemason. And so, I mean, again, even if there were Masons going to the island, that would not indicate anything other than Freemasons are human beings. And unfortunately, in the same way, different people from any group can be corrupted or do evil things or do bad things. Freemasonry, I mean, there's no such thing as it's within any group or organization, whether it be civic, civil, political, or anything in between. Unfortunately, there are going to be individuals who fall short, who mess up, who don't do what they're supposed to do. Our job as Freemasons, if we discover an individual like that, is A, to make sure he's no longer part of the craft, and B, to inform the police immediately, so that the police can arrest him and any harm to society can be stopped. Which is the most important thing, that he is stopped, or the person is stopped. The second most important reason to inform the police immediately is so that the reputation of Freemasonry is preserved and protected, which is also incredibly important. But that's not as important as making sure the harm to society is stopped. So there you go. Bankhead, I will not. Please hit like and subscribe. So the Bush family there are no Masons in the Bush family. Howard Stern is not a Freemason to my knowledge. I've never heard any evidence that he is. Now, I could be wrong. I've never heard of any evidence that Howard Stern is a Freemason. Now, again, I could be wrong, but not that I've ever heard any evidence of. Jesse Jackson just passed away recently. He was he was a Mason, and just a very important civil rights leader in general. I don't know what his opinions were with Albert Pike. I can say, Albert Pike is somebody that I have very mixed feelings about, because it's one of those things where you're constantly hearing about him, from non-Masons who claim to know Freemasonry based on what he wrote and based on what he said. And that can be very annoying and very frustrating because it's one of those things where he gave his opinions on Freemasonry. That doesn't mean that those opinions represent the whole of the craft or even represent most Masonic journeys. So, I mean, I'm not American. I know very little about him, but whatever I saw of him, I mean, I saw some clips of him on Sesame Street. He seemed to be um, a good civil rights leader. I thought his work, you know, like I said, working with kids on Sesame Street, telling all of them that they are somebody. I don't know. I thought it seemed good to me. I don't know. I do not know what a neophyte is. So Pike was a Mason. So am I, right? No one would look at my stream and go, "Oh, Cameron speaks for all of Freemasons on their Masonic journey." Um, at least I would hope not. What they should be saying is, "This is Cameron. He's got opinions and views on Freemasonry, some of which, from a Masonic perspective, I'm a Freemason. Maybe it causes me to look at the craft in a different way. For others, um, it's something that they can either take or leave." He was not the first Grand Supreme Leader, Albert Pike. I'm not sure where he got that from. Now, because there is no such thing as a Grand Supreme Leader in a global sense. He was the, um, oh, I can't think of the term now, Grand Master of the Southern Masonic jurisdiction, which again is a authority or which is a position whose authority resides in the Southern Masonic jurisdiction. He is sovereign Grand Commander of the Southern jurisdiction from 1859 until his death. And he was the 33rd degree. However, that doesn't mean that his authority existed outside of that jurisdiction. Now, other Masons in the Northern jurisdiction or in Canada or around the world would certainly have respected Albert Pike, but that doesn't mean he had authority therein or authority over them. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the Black Brotherhood is, so I can't speak to that. But Freemasons are part of a brotherhood. It's called Freemasonry, right? That is our brotherhood. Well, I don't think Freemasonry is part. I've never heard of the Black Brotherhood, so I can't imagine we're part of it. I don't know what it is, but it sounds a little bit like baloney to me. So, but I had an excellent, excellent, excellent time in. Oh, George Washington's still in the lead, by the way. Favorite Masonic president poll final round. George Washington 64%, FDR 36%. FDR is doing a little better than I thought he would. Dark horse. Well, I can't speak for any of that because I've never heard of it before. You do not get paid to be a Freemason, Jados. However, what you can do is give me a super chat, just 99 cents, $1. Whatever you want to do, giving a super chat helps out big time and it helps promote this channel. Good afternoon, Raj of God. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll take a moment, hit that like and subscribe button. No, you should not, because they're not part of the Illuminati, as you well know. You're just trying to troll a little bit early this morning. I guess it's not morning anymore. It's 1:30. After the death of Queen Zohaib, I'm not sure what you're talking about. I mean, right now it's King Charles, right? Who's not a Freemason, who took over the crown. Not took over the crown, I guess was taking it over implies some type of malicious means, right? He was next in line. It was his inherited would be the correct term. Inherited the crown. You are very loyal, Zohaib. You are very loyal. But the most loyal? I don't know. I mean, that'd be interesting to see, right? I can think of a few. Um, I mean, you can be both. Oh, well, I'm not sure which Queen Elizabeth you're referring to. Um, because when I think of Queen Elizabeth passing, I think of King Charles. FDR is the best, riding moose across. Well, I don't think that's what he did, Raj of God, unless I'm missing something. Hello, R.A. Nom dude. Hi from Russia. Hi from Canada. Please take a moment, hit the like and subscribe about. Um, well, Queen Elizabeth the First. I'm not sure when she passed away. Queen Elizabeth the First, 1533 to 1603. I mean, when she passed away in 1603, there really wasn't Freemasonry at that time, right? I mean, you could argue speculative Freemasonry started in Scotland around 1634, or maybe 1616, is what some have said. But that's still, it was not a political force, or it wasn't even a social force, I should say, in any way, shape, or form. It couldn't be because it wasn't until approximately 1717 that Freemasonry first became organized into something resembling what we have today. Well, that seems unlikely. Did the Knights Templar change the Freemasons? So the Knights Temple and the Freemasons are different groups and different organizations. The Illuminati is also a different group and a different organization. The Knights Templars existed from approximately 1118 to 1308. Freemasonry, you can debate the dates, but we'll say 1717 is when it started. The Illuminati started 1776. There were different groups and different organizations. Now, certainly, Freemasonry borrowed a great deal of symbolism and tradition from the Knights Templar, but that doesn't mean that one directly became the other. And Freemasonry is not a branch of the Illuminati, Zohaib. They're separate groups, separate organizations. The Illuminati really, to my knowledge, doesn't exist anymore, at least in any meaningful way, as of 2026, probably as of 1926, to be honest. Well, then join Freemasonry, yeah, Jados. By the way, Snow Bear, please hit like, please hit subscribe. I'm just 2 subs away from 5,700 and so 3,580 subs. Well, that's quite a confusing situation to put me in, Zoe, because now there's nothing I can say, right? If I say, Illuminati doesn't exist, you'll say, of course he's saying that because it does. And if I say it does, then that just agrees with your premise. So you've kind of got me in quite the spot. It'd be like me saying to you, you're a criminal, and of course you would deny it because that's what criminals do. You kind of leave no room for the counter. Odin, I have no idea what that means. I have no interest in placentas of anything, babies or otherwise, because that would be gross, and placentas are gross. I mean, I have no interest in going to war, again, with either an abstract concept like intelligence or children. Going to war with children actually seems like it'd be pretty terrible, because children are annoying. So I don't want to go to war with children or with intelligence. I'm too busy trying to be a better person to go off fighting battles with things. I can assure you we do not. And I can assure you, Purge. Oh, are you kidding? To have to fight them in a war? Oh my gosh. It'd be ridiculous. It'd be so much work. I don't want to go to war with a bunch of children. They'd have to, every 30 minutes, you have to stop because they'd have to take a nap. You'd have to you have to watch cartoons and stuff. Are you kidding? Going to war with children would be the most annoying thing in the world. I mean, I care about women and children and other men. I care about people, right? I want to make the world a better place. So to do that, it's about, you have to care, at least on some level, for just society in general. That includes women and children, as well as anyone else who may be part of that society. I think that's one of those things where it kind of goes with the territory of to be a Freemason, a big part of that means you have to care. Um, I'm not sure what you mean by stolen intelligence. I feel like you're trying to reference AI in that, which I tend to be somewhat more positive about artificial intelligence than a lot of other people, but we'll see what happens. And I can't speak for world leaders. I can say Freemasons are not cannibals. I cannot, I can't pronounce your name, Purujt, because I cannot solve a partial derivative. I'm just not that smart. We do not want to create the perfect race. Freemasonry does not discriminate. It does not discriminate based on one's race, religion, ethnicity, background, language, socioeconomic status. So it's one of those things where this idea that we in Freemasonry would try to create the perfect race. To be a Freemason, you don't believe in a perfect race. You believe people should not be discriminated against based on these factors. So it would be very anti-Masonic to, for example, think that you could create the perfect race. Um, well, some lodges do, some lodges don't recognize Mary Heat. In England, for example, the United Grand Lodge of England absolutely recognizes the Female Order of Freemasons. In fact, they've been working together on this challenge to the Met Police. So it's absolutely the case that they can, in many cases, recognize them. Um, well, Odin, I don't think you know the future, and I don't think you know how the world is going to end. If you think you know the future and you think you know how the world is going to end, then what I would suggest is it might be worth talking to somebody, a doctor, a psychiatrist, because I can imagine that would be incredibly difficult to know how the world is going to end, or to at least think you know how the world is going to end. Um, Hello, Konang 2009. Welcome. I do like that song, Space Legume. We're just hanging out the first 60 minutes. I don't talk about anything specific. I just chat about Freemasonry. So let's see who joins. The second 60 minutes, I have more specific topics. Today, it's about the challenge to the Met Police. Siddharth, I mean, I don't think there is a beyond the Atlantic because I'm not a flat earther. So I think the Atlantic, or sorry, the Antarctic, excuse me. I think the Antarctic is just at one pole, and then the north, the Arctic, the north is at the other pole, and then you can't go beyond it. You just go in a big circle. I mean, I don't think the Earth is a donut. Homer may. Freemasons think the Earth is round. I mean, some may think it's flat. I have no idea, but I'm firmly on the Earth is a sphere. British defense. So what's your answer then? Because, I mean, I'm going with the final round. So keep in mind, we did initially, British Defense League, ask about 16 different Masonic presidents in four brackets. The four winners of those brackets we put head to head, two against two. And this current bracket represents the final two winners in the tournament, George Washington and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But British Defense League, who is your favorite? Who is your favorite Masonic president? Odin, I think you need to talk to somebody, Odin, and I think you need to maybe get some professional help a little bit. By the way, we are at 22 votes. Favorite Masonic president, 55% to 45%. So there you go. George Washington is slightly in the league. I was never a huge fan of George Carlin, but all right. Who has the best IQ? I have no idea who had a higher IQ, George Washington or Franklin Roosevelt. I don't even know if they had IQ tests back then. Who is Grandmaster Mason? I'm not sure to which you're referring there. We do not protect evil, neither within the government or nor any other levels. Freemasonry is actually about the opposite. It's about supporting the good, not protecting evil. But welcome, Vaughn. I think you're new to the stream. Please hit like and subscribe. Well, so we don't recruit Konang, so it's not the right term. I mean, the way you learn about the differences between the Scottish and York Rite is after you join and you get your third degree, you talk to Scottish Rite and York Rite members. You ask them about the craft. You ask them about the appendant bodies, more specifically, why they join, what they get from it, and you go from there. That's kind of like everything else. Freemasonry is a leap of faith. Hello, Courtney. Thank you for being here. I hope you're doing well. I hope you'll take a moment to hit that like button and let me know who you voted for in the favorite Masonic presidential poll. George Washington is slightly in the lead at the moment, but FDR could still come back. Hello, Mr. Young Thug. Thank you for being here. I hope you take a moment to hit the like and subscribe button and let me know how you're doing. And if you already subscribed, then thank you for being here once again. I did see some of your brothers in Chicago. I think I met some brothers from Brazil. It was really cool. So it was really fun. Nothing but respect to the very awesome Conference of Grand Masters. Actually, let me see if I can pull some of this stuff out. By the way, Courtney, I got some bookmarks. So there you go. I mean, that is true. I don't know. I feel like if I had the choice, I'd want to be at Carnival as well. Having said that, it was really fun. It was interesting to be back at the Hyatt Regency because that is a place where I always go back in the day for my scary movie conventions, Flashback Horror Weekend. But I haven't been at Flashback for such a long time. It was great. It was really fun to be back. It was really cool. I'm trying to just pull out all the stuff that I got that I can show you guys. That is weird. No, I will not start panting like a dog. All right, hold on just 1 second. I picked up a whole bunch of different things, so I'm trying to find them all now to show them off. Okay, I think this should be good. Okay, so we've got... check out this awesome coin. And a lot of these I posted on my socials already. Some of them I will be posting shortly. Well, I mean, I will be sending them out at Christmas to members. As always, I'm going to send them out for the membership. So on either Patreon or YouTube. So what I would say is, I know it's a little while away, but in the holiday season, that's when I mail all my stuff. Unless you want to become a paying Patreon member again, then you'll get one early. So we've got this coin from the Conference of Grand Masters. Let's see. Put this back. And then I got... This is from Ann Arbor Lodge, where I was yesterday. Freemasonry is all about symbolism. Got Freemasonry Way of Life, these bookmarks, which is really cool. One of each color. So that's because what you do is you put it on, like if you've got a book or something, you get to your page, you put it on like that, and then you can take it off, and then you know where you are. So that was really cool. I got this here, and got one of these. This is from the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, which was represented. Got another one of those. I got this from the fellowship, and this is from the shrine. And then I got a free golf ball as well. And I got these awesome stickers, Scottish Rite, and USB stick from the Missouri chip program. So there you go. Just a few cool things that I got on my travels. As always, I love to travel, and a big part of why I love it so much is the fact that I'm able to collect all of these incredible items, which become a part of my Masonic journey. And, it's fun to look back on them every now and then. Yes, I agree, Spirit, RIP, Prince Hall brother, Jesse Jackson. Like I said, he's not somebody I know a ton about, but it seems like he did a lot of really excellent work supporting civil rights and supporting. I saw some clips of him on Sesame Street, I think it was. He seemed to be doing a really great job talking to kids about why they're important, why they matter. So I do like to talk, Sam. All right, Odin, you're getting kind of weird. Like I said, I think you might need to seek some professional help at some point, but I still appreciate you being here. It is not. Freemasons are not involved with. I assume when you say the Grove, you're referring to Bohemian Grove. Freemasons do not meet at Bohemian Grove, so I'm very sorry to disappoint you. Well, yeah, the best way to do that, Mario Heat, which is a good question, is ask them which Grand Lodge they are a part of and contact that Grand Lodge. And just ask them directly, are they legitimate or clandestine? They should give you the name of a legitimate Grand Lodge, and then just Google search and call it. So if, for example, you're in North Carolina and you go to visit a Masonic Lodge and they tell you that they are part of the Grand Lodge in North Carolina, then the best thing you do is contact the Grand Lodge of Carolina and confirm once again. But as a general rule, depending where you're at, you're more than likely going to come across a legitimate lodge. It could be one of those cases where, like I said, if it's not, the best way to find out is, again, just ask them which Grand Lodge, they are chartered under, or where their charter comes from, which Grand Lodge they are chartered under, and then you go from there. Small town in Alberta, there's not a ton of, I would be amazed if there was a clandestine lodge in small town in Alberta. By and large, when it comes to clandestine lodges, they tend to more often or not pop up in bigger cities. But again, the best way to do it is ask them which Grand Lodge they're chartered under. It should be the Grand Lodge of Alberta, and then just contact the Grand Lodge of Alberta to double check. Yes, I am back. I made it back home. I had a great time though at the conference of Grand Masters. I had a great time Arbor Masonic Lodge. I hope you guys follow me. I hope you guys follow me taking or doing my push-ups with Dr. and brother Oscar Alain, a really awesome Mason. Holy thunder. A really awesome Mason. He's out of New York, but I think he's also a Texas Freemason, to be honest. He's a really cool dude. Mr. Keeps, that would be awesome. Again, it's completely up to you. And obviously, the most important thing is your your faith. But having said that, obviously, because I know earlier you had expressed some concerns, but I think it'd be great if you joined. And hopefully, and who knows, maybe I could even make it out to um, your initiation. I can't make any promises. I have no idea. I could write you one, but really, it would not make a big difference, right? Because your sponsors need to come from the Masonic Lodge to which you're joining. Um, and you will get sponsors, right? If you go and express your interest in joining, you kind of go from there. Having said that, I mean, I'd be happy to write you a note just saying, I've got to know you through Square Compass Promotions, and that I wish you that I think you'd make a good Mason, but it really wouldn't make a difference. If I was maybe a Grand Master or something, it'd be a bigger deal, but I'm just a guy giving my opinion on Freemasonry, right? So I'm not even sure if a lot of the guys would know me necessarily. But I'd be happy to write you a letter if you'd like, if you think it'd make things easier for you. You would get some sponsors, though. Again, you just go through the process, you approach them, you express your interest in joining, and you go from there. Again, I always suggest when it comes to the higher power question, the way Freemasonry is, or the way higher power within Freemasonry is so liberally defined. I guess it depends on if there's any way you could describe any of your beliefs as being something beyond yourself. Talk to the lodge, express your interest, and go from there. So if you do want that letter, Mr. Keeps, just let me know and I'll send you something. Um, TF, Freemasonry, it's a civic or civil organization, civic or civil group that has been around for over 300 years, and it exists in all parts of the world under different governing bodies. So Ontario, Quebec, North Carolina, South Carolina, all throughout Europe, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know what you mean by the fourth. Um, I mean, the most important information within Freemasonry is all within the first 3 degrees. That is the basis on which Freemasonry rests. So if you want to know about, for example, like I mean, now some would argue, certainly if you're looking at the York Rite, that the third and fourth degree, the fourth degree in the York Rite is actually the most important degree. From my position, though, it's always been the first 3 degrees in Craft or Blue Lodge are the most important degrees. Those are the degrees on which all of Freemasonry rests. Um, I mean, I do my best to answer all questions, Riha Rain. If I can't answer a question, either because A, I don't know, I'll just say I don't know, but I'll look into it. Um, if or if it's something that I believe should be maintained privately, then I will explain that I'm not going to answer because I think it should be maintained privately. I think I heard about that, Mr. Keeps, but I didn't see who it was, or I just think I heard there was another floor crossing. I'm assuming conservative to liberal would be my guess, or NDP to liberal. I mean, unfortunately, it makes sense when the party to whom one is crossing is so close to a majority, right? They have a pretty big incentive to try to get people to cross the floor. Having said that, I would agree with you. I'm not a big fan of floor crossing myself. I think in such cases, it's better to just hold another election, and the candidate who wants to cross the floor can run again under the auspices of whichever party it is that he's moving to. I mean, because you can always argue, right, that the the argument to cross the floor, and by the way, Freemasonry is not political, this is my own opinions. The argument to cross the floor is always going to be, I can get more accomplished for my constituents if I'm a member of this other party, especially if that other party is formed the government. Right? My constituents will be better served by me having a voice at the table of whatever the new government is, or whatever the governing party is, which is a good argument to make. But the thing is that should be made democratically. So you have a new election, and the candidate who wishes to cross the floor explains by becoming a liberal, becoming a conservative, becoming whatever it is, I will be able to better serve my constituents, is what I would do. Um, I don't know if they championed floor crossing. They had some floor crossers, if I recall correctly, but it's been such a long time, I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. I am not one who believes that in Dickus, in Visuki. However, many Masons do. Again, the question as to what created the universe, how did the universe start, who created the universe, that is not necessarily a, Masonic question. That's more of a question for one's religion or one's spiritual beliefs. There are some who may believe in the more scientific explanation, some who may believe in a superior creator. Um, it really depends on the Mason himself. There is no main Mason leader. Somebody asked that above. Mario Heat. There is no main Masonic leader, right? Because the Pope, for example, is responsible for Catholicism all around the globe. Within Freemasonry, you have it's decentralized. So what that means is you have within, for example, Ontario, you have a Grand Master, and he is responsible for Freemasonry within Ontario. Um, his authority does not extend beyond Ontario, nor does anybody else have authority within Ontario that can go against him. However, you go to Manitoba, there's a Grand Master of Manitoba that has their own authority that exists within Manitoba. If you go to um, Texas, there's one there. Quebec, there's one there. Newfoundland, there's one there. And so there is no single governing body for Freemasonry or single leader within Freemasonry. Rather, it's decentralized. Um, well, Rooster, you can answer who your favorite president of those two is. If you had to pick the best president, would you say George Washington or FDR? And we're going to give this another 8 minutes, and I'm going to respond to the Metropolitan Police's challenge, or sorry, the Masonic challenge to the Met Police's decision regarding requirement of disclosure of information, disclosure of Masonic membership, either current or past. He is not current, like King Charles is not the Grand Master of the Lodge of England. Um, hold on just 1 second. Right? The current Grand Master is the HRH Duke of Kent. Um, let me just, you used to know about him, HRH. Prince Edward is the Grand Master of the Grand Lodge of England. He is presently 90 years of age. So good for him. Well, I mean, the Met Police would argue that there's potential for conflict of interest, right? Whether those conflicts ever actually come about or not, they would argue, and they talk about it in this article I'm going to read, that there is a potential for conflict of interest when you have, let's say, a police officer who's a Mason responding to a crime being perpetrated by a Freemason, or if you have two Masons, if you have, let's say, a superior officer who's a Freemason, is he likely to give a promotion to an inferior officer? It's the bell, the book, and the candle question, right? Is it possible, and if it's not possible, will people perceive it to be possible that there was a conflict of interest? I mean, some require disclosures, some don't. I think the issue with the Metropolitan Police requirement is the Met Police are the biggest are the largest police force within United Kingdom. So kind of their decisions, I think, carry a lot more weight than other police force decisions, just because they're so big and there's so many of them. The bigger the organization, when it makes a decision, it has ripple effects, right? 33 votes, by the way, on favorite Masonic president. George Washington at 64%, Franklin Roosevelt at 36%. We're going to give this another 5 minutes, then we're going to start talking about, at least answering this question of our favorite, Chicago, I can talk, challenge to Metropolitan Police force being thrown out by the courts. I was just in Chicago and I loved it. I had a great time. I was also in Glenview, Rosemont, and Ann Arbor. Mostly I was there because I got to visit some friends attending the Conference of Grand Masters of North America, which was absolutely incredible. It was a really well done conference. I also have to say, it was incredibly fun attending the conference at the Hyatt Regency Hotel. That is a hotel I used to go to all the time because they would hold the Flashback Horror Convention weekends there. And before that, they actually held it at another hotel in Rosemont, which I used to go to, the Crown Plaza, if I recall correctly. So the point is, it was really fun to be back in a place that I have a lot of really fond memories therein. And especially, it was really fun because not only, was I back at a place I love, but I was forming new memories there. I think sometimes one of the funnest or one of the most fun things to do, the most rewarding things to do, is to create new good memories within or at a place you already loved. I think that can be really, really cool. It's not just about living, because at that point, if you're super nostalgic for a place, but you never create any new memories there, rather you're just nostalgic for memories that already happened, that's kind of to me like living off your savings. You're not producing anything new to maintain the lifestyle, however, or the income. However, when you take a place you love and develop and create new memories therein, I think one of the beautiful things about that is it's kind of like bringing in a new set of income. You kind of create something new through which you can experience the place you love. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. You're not wrong. Who said that? I've heard that before. I agree. We should be supporting local as much as possible. I think actually Freemasons, one of the things that we do have responsibility to do is as much as possible, we should be trying our best to support local. And when I say local, it doesn't even necessarily mean Canadian. That means within your city, within your community, within your town. Like a new business opens up, see, like a new restaurant, let's say, see if they offer catering services and use them to cater an event, right? The extent to which Freemasons care about their town or their community is absolutely will reflect on the relevance of Freemasonry within that community and will likely reflect in greater engagement and greater membership within the community. I do not know who either of those people are. The names sound familiar, Bambi, but I can't speak to why I recognize the names or why they seem familiar. So who are those two people? He is not Mega Man. He is not Mega Man James. King Charles is not a Freemason. Despite what some people think, not every English monarch is a Freemason. No filter boss. Don't tell Mr. Keeps that. Mr. Keeps is awesome, and he's welcome in the chat. And he's correct, by the way. That's the other thing about Mr. Keeps. In this case, he's absolutely correct. We definitely need I think again, Freemasons should, but I think we in Canada should try to support Canadian as well. I've never heard of the water rats, so I can't say anything about them. But no, King Charles is not a Freemason. Um, he does not type too much here. And the more people type, the better it is. Are you kidding? We need everybody typing as much as we can. So no, that's not correct. I probably timed you out because you're telling people on the stream to shut up. So maybe that's why you get typed out. Maybe don't be stupid and you won't get yourself typed out. I mean, again, I don't know what Masons adjacent means, Mega Man James. There are different groups that I don't know, may have Masons within them. Um, for example, like the Oddfellows had many Masons that were part of the Oddfellows throughout the years. But that doesn't mean that it's Masonic, right? The same way that the Mormon Church, for example, developed through Freemasonry, that doesn't mean that Mormonism is Masonic. Water Rats, UK. I just typed in Water Rats, UK, and what I got was Water Voles. I've never heard of this. Oh, so it's also a live music venue at 328 Gray's Inn Road in King's Cross, London. Here it is, the Grand Order of Water Rats. It's a UK show business charity. Our members, known as Water Rats, raise funds for good causes. Okay. Well, first of all, I don't necessarily know if, yeah, it does look somewhat Masonic, in terms of they got the collars, but that doesn't mean that they are Masonic per se. And also, I don't see any evidence that King Charles is necessarily a water rat. Browse past and present members on the Roll of Honor page. Looks like they've had 947 members. Bill Murray was one. That's cool. Yeah, a lot of comedians seem to have joined. Hey, Brian May of Queen, he was one. That's cool. Hey, people like to form groups. People like to form organizations. Well, why would I know about the Water Rats though, Mega Man James? I mean, there's many different groups and organizations that I'm not aware of or don't know much about. That doesn't mean they're Masonic, right? It looks like it's just an organization, a group of entertainers who decided to get together and form some charitable endeavors, which there's nothing wrong with, by the way. Colonel Sanders was a Freemason for sure, as was Dave Thomas. Interesting enough, it was Colonel Sanders and Dave Thomas who, or it was Dave Thomas who actually helped Colonel Sanders on a couple different occasions. Well, we have appendant bodies, um, like Scottish Rite, York Rite, Shrine, things of that nature, allied Masonic degrees. Like, and then we know about clandestine groups. But in terms of, so if you're a Freemason and you want to join the Elks, the Moose, there's nothing stopping you. We wouldn't necessarily have a directory of places, to send you. Rather, that's up to you, right? Within Freemasonry, there's no Masonic light program. I mean, there's the youth groups, there's Eastern Star, but a group like the Elks, the Moose, the Water Rats, those are separate organizations. They're outside of Freemasonry. they're not affiliated with or kind of considered a different type of Freemasonry. No, to be a Shriner, at least as of right now, I shouldn't say just, but you need to be a third degree Mason, and that's sufficient, at least in most jurisdictions. Right? But there is within Freemasonry, it's not really fair to say that there are affiliate groups. Like, I wouldn't use that term. There are appendant bodies, there are youth groups, there's Eastern Star. It doesn't really have affiliated groups in the same sense. Favorite Masonic president, George Washington is back in the lead, 63% to 37%. So there you go. All right, so as of today, or excuse me, as of yesterday, I believe it was. Let me get the time right. 2 days ago, in fact, the BBC reported legal challenge to Met's Freemasons policy thrown out. So this is written by the BBC. I'll leave a link to it on my stream. Why hold anybody's masonry against them? An attempt by Freemasons to stop the Metropolitan Police from forcing staff to declare whether they are or have been members of the organization has been thrown out by the High Court, despite claims it breaches human rights. Mr. Justice Chamberlain said the policy was a lawful and proportionate way for Scotland Yard to maintain and enhance public trust in policing. 3 bodies representing Freemasonry in England, Wales, the Isle of Man, and the Channel Islands, as well as 2 serving police officers who were members of the organization, had sought to overturn the rule. They argued that the disclosure order breached members' right to privacy, free speech, and was discrimination under equality laws. The attempted legal challenge came after the Met announced in December that officers and police staff would be required to declare internally if they were part of an organization that had a confidential membership, hierarchical structures, and requires members to support and protect each other. That's in brackets. The declaration would not be public, but Met bosses told staff they needed to know because long-standing concerns meant that public and staff confidence must take precedence over the secrecy of any membership organization. The new policy was immediately applied to membership of the Freemasons, and most of the 397 declarations so far have been from members of the organization. Police chiefs told the High Court that the policy was imposed because they were concerned about the possibility of corruption if personnel were not transparent about their membership. Is it plausible that membership of organizations such as Freemasons between 2 officers or between an officer and a member of the public they're dealing with may give rise to a conflict of loyalties or otherwise be relevant to independence, equality, and transparency and trust in police? Commander Simon Messinger told the court in a witness statement. A declaration could be relevant to a live criminal or misconduct investigation, or it could shed light on the appropriateness of an officer or member of staff participating in a current posting. If we do not have a declaration information, we cannot assess or mitigate the risks of actual or perceived bias impacting such decisions. Launching the attempt to overturn the policy, the United Grand Lodge of England and other claimants argued that the Met had no power under the police regulations to force officers to disclose membership of an organization that was part of their private life. They further argued that the policy unlawfully interfered with officers' rights to privacy, free speech, and assembly under the European Convention of Human Rights. The decision to impose a policy was also said to be discrimination against a Freemason officer's beliefs under the Equality Act, and the force also had no right to hold the private information under data protection laws. But in a 17-page ruling on Tuesday, Mr. Justice Chamberlain said none of the claims made were reasonably arguable, putting a stop to the case before it got to a full hearing. The senior judge said the policy was not discriminatory or unduly stigmatizing against Freemasons. Even if Freemasons had been right and the policy did interfere with officers' human rights, it was proportionate for police chiefs to ask for disclosures because they were legitimately aiming to maintain and enhance public trust. Responding to the ruling, Commander Simon Messinger said, "We had been prepared to robustly defend our decision through the courts, so today's judgment is welcome. Both the victims of crime and those reporting wrongdoing must have trust and confidence there is no risk that investigations are tainted by such issues. We have prioritized this over any organization's desire to maintain secrecy. The United Grand Lodge of England, the Order of Women Freemasons, and the Honorable Fraternity of Ancient Freemasons said in a statement that they were disappointed but had received assurances that a small number of staff would have access to the list of members, which is a good assurance to have. That makes me happy as well. Speaking on behalf of the three groups, Adam Marsh, Grand Secretary of UGLE, said, "We maintain that we have an obligation to protect our members from discrimination, which, in our view, will do nothing to improve on the Metropolitan Police's delivery on its mandate to keep London safe by reducing crime, building public trust, and upholding high standards." So there you go. I got this cut. I don't know. I had like a scratch on it. Sometimes it happens. I got a big nose, so I get scratches on it, I guess. So I think to me, the whole point of this, I guess, article or story is it seems as though the requirement that Freemasons who are either current or past Freemasons, I should say, who are also members of the Metropolitan Police Force will be required to disclose membership therein or past membership therein, at least for the foreseeable future. However, the trade-off or the benefit we got from this decision was an assurance that the disclosure of Masonic membership would not be to either A, the general public, which would be wrong, or B, to a significant number of staff within the Metropolitan Police. Rather, the information will be kept secure amongst a small number of staff who would have access to the list of members to check for conflicts of interest. Now, what I would say is I would want an assurance both A, of who is supposed to officially have access to that list, but also, and maybe more importantly, how secure that list actually is. So, for example, if you say, if the Metropolitan Police Force said these 10 staff members have access to this list, but the list is kept in an unlocked cabinet, completely, not secured, well, whoever is supposed to officially have access to the list doesn't matter because anybody can see it, right? Or if the list is being kept on a computer, but the computer is not password protected, it's the exact same thing, right? And so I don't think it's just a question of who is authorized to have access, but actually what access looks like. How does one gain access? Is it password protected on a computer? Is it kept in a hard copy under lock and key? Because I never had any issue, and I still don't have any issue with, for example, requiring the disclosure of membership, because conflict of interest is a real thing, and it does matter, and it is important that we do what we can to deal with those things. However, I don't think the public needs to know, and I don't think the majority of staff in the Met needs to know. It's a small number of staff that need to know. So I'd want to make sure, A, the access authorization is to a small number of staff, those who require to know it, but also what security measures are being taken with the list. Is it being kept under lock and key? Is it being kept password protected computer? Is that computer safe from being hacked? Because there are a lot of anti-Masonic sentiments. A lot of, people are threatening violence against Freemasons in 2026. If the information were to get leaked publicly, suddenly do these Masons have a target on their back? And people have the right to their privacy as well. Well, but Mega Man, keep in mind, Freemasonry is not a gang affiliation, nor is it referred to in the Metropolitan's decision or Metropolitan Police's policy. It's a hierarchical organization. Freemason Guyana? What about Freemasonry Guyana? So that was the report by the BBC. The Telegraph reported the same thing. The Guardian reported the same thing. Well, I definitely don't think it should be public information. People should have the right to maintain the privacy of their affiliations from the public. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they have the right to maintain the privacy of their affiliations from their employers, for example. That's a different question, um, right? Employers are put in a different position than members of the general public, especially when it comes to public employees. And there may be times when, in those instances, it is absolutely the case that concern for conflict of interest needs to be prioritized over privacy. But there's ways to do that without reporting to the public, right? Oh, well, Freemasonry is not connected to Jonestown. That's the Kool-Aid people? Well, again, it's not about saying no positions of power. Rather, I'm fine with them having a position of power. What they should, however, have to do is disclose it and let the people above them know about it, or the people lateral to them know about it. I was not. Freemasons are not part of Jonestown. It's a whole separate thing. Freemasonry is not a cult. I've talked about on several different occasions why Freemasonry is not a cult, why it's also not a gang. I've talked about in the past. So they're different things. One of the biggest reasons why it's different is because Freemasonry does not try to isolate anyone from their civic, familial, employment, or religious responsibilities, right? Whereas gangs and cults will do that. When you say after the Masons, I'm not sure what you mean by that. Generally speaking, in countries that are communist, Freemasonry is very often not as popular. Some cases it can even be outlawed. So, for example, it was outlawed in Russia after the Bolshevik Revolution. In many communist countries, Freemasonry has been either outlawed or frowned upon. It's also, outlawed in mainland China, though it does exist in Hong Kong and Macau. Hello, Barry. Thank you for being here. Please take a few moments, hit that like and subscribe button. I'd very, very much appreciate it. To outlawing Freemasonry, I do not. There's always, they'll always justify it somehow. The question is whether I accept the justification, right? I think within most communist groups, or communist governments, or communist, within most communist regimes, the idea is a desire for government control, right? The government, the regime wants to exercise as much control as it possibly can and wants to centralize as much power as it possibly can, whether that be economic power, legal power, social power, or anything in between. Freemasonry, what it does, right, is it attempts to give a lot of power to communities and civic institutions as opposed to civil. Not more, but just empower, at least on an economic level, on a social level, even some ways political level, you know, within communities, right? It has its own structures within communities that support one another as opposed to relying on the regime. So I think you naturally want to outlaw that. You also want to outlaw anything that is private because, again, those type of regimes thrive on a lack of privacy from the citizenry. I definitely don't believe that, Mega Man. I mean, I think looking at things from a strictly a power dynamic perspective is silly, and that's not a healthy way to look at things. I think there's a lot of different ways to look at society and the Western world. I would say, certainly from an Enlightenment perspective, it's about reason and truth and tolerance and respect, more so than anything else. Well, I think blackmail and coercion are bad, obviously. And I think if people use, well, I mean, by definition, power dynamics are a, Blackmail is playing on some type of power dynamic, so is coercion. I mean, for example, even if two people are of equal status and one is not more powerful than the other, if, let's say, I discover that somebody else who is equal to me or is even inferior to me, or sorry, superior to me, is committing a crime, and I choose to blackmail them with that information, that has suddenly shifted the power dynamic, right? Now I've shifted the power dynamic, even if I'm blackmailing my boss, for example. However, I would hope that everybody understands that what you should be doing in such circumstances, if you find out somebody you know is committing a crime, is go to the police, and inform the police of what you discovered. I don't know if they did or didn't. I heard some rumor that they think they figured out who Jack the Ripper is, but I don't know if it's ever been actually officially confirmed. I don't think Judaism is a corrupt religion. Judaism is just a religion. I shouldn't say just, it's a religion. Um, we have many Jewish Masons, as well as many Christian Masons, Hindu, Sikh, Muslim, etc., etc. Uh, how one chooses to worship, I don't think is anyone's business. Certainly not a Mason's business. I do not know, Mega Man. I think some religions, I don't think any religion teaches hate, but I think some people can interpret religion to encourage hate. Judaism is not Masonic. Masonic is not Judaism. They are separate things, they occupy separate spaces. Judaism occupies either an ethnic or religious space. Freemasonry occupies a civic space and maybe a little bit of a civil space as well. But that's not the same thing. So very sorry to disappoint. I do not worship Moloch. Freemasonry, again, Freemasonry is not a religion. So we are not worshiping Moloch. We're not worshiping any entity, right? That's not how it works. Freemasonry does not worship Moloch. There is no Masonic God, no Masonic devil. Rather, every Freemason must decide for himself, whom he worships. And some worship, again, some are Jewish, some are Christian, some are Hindu, some are Sikh. Some may not even worship a whom. Some may worship more ideals or principles. Like me, I've said it before. When it comes to what I worship, I believe that I believe my supreme being is the rational order of the universe as expressed through science and geometry. There's two reasons why atheists can't join, maybe three. The first is it's traditional, and Freemasons love tradition. The second and the more important one is within Freemason, you have to take an obligation. That obligation in no way interferes with your civic, religious, moral, or other responsibilities, familial, employment. However, the theory is if you are taking an obligation and you don't believe in any supreme being, the obligation will have less meaning to you. For example, in court, the reason you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth on a Bible or on a Quran or on a Torah is because the theory is that will speak to your heart. Because you're not just making a promise to the people in the room, you're making a promise to your supreme being, whomever that is, and that will touch your conscience and make you more likely to tell the truth, right? So there's that as well. And the third thing is the term supreme being is so broadly defined in many Masonic in many Masonic jurisdictions. The term supreme being is so broadly defined that many who could be considered traditional quote unquote atheists would actually be able to join. So there you go. I don't think that's the case, Barry. I've known many people who are religious and don't think that they are better than others or better than anyone else. So that has not been my experience at all. Well, I mean, certainly the argument would be, promises may, if you're making a promise to no one but yourself, it may mean less than a promise to yourself and a supreme being. Having said that, Mega Man, if you did want to join Freemasonry as an atheist, then I'd recommend looking into liberal orders, specifically the Grand Orient de France. The Grand Orient de France, I think is what it's called, which I believe has some North American chapters as well, which do allow atheists. So there you go. That can be your way to join if you were so desired, or if you so desired. We got 38 votes. Let's see. 61%, so George Washington is well in the lead. Some do. I've actually been part of 4 paranormal investigations within Freemasonry. Um, 2 in Jonestown Masonic Temple and 2 at the Windsor Masonic Temple. They're a lot of fun. But again, some Masons may believe in the paranormal, some may not. It really depends on the Mason himself and what he believes, right? But our Masonic buildings, because they're so old, because so many members went through, you naturally get a lot of Masons expressing an interest in the paranormal and claiming their Masonic buildings are haunted. Plus, there's also a financial incentive, right? It's one of those things where a lot of times in 2026, 2025, 2024, 2023, and back, paranormal investigations, ghost tours are a great way to bring people into your building, to have them tour the building and learn more about it. So yeah, absolutely that is the case. Yes, it's the Grand Orient of France, I believe. So it's called a liberal order. I can't speak to where they are outside of France, but I believe they are in a few North American jurisdictions. He was. I mean, Ben Franklin, you could argue, was one of the most was one of the most prominent Masons. So absolutely. Well, I mean, I don't. I've heard about. I've never seen that movie, but I've heard about it, and I've heard there's a scene which does not portray Freemasons in a particularly good light. So I don't know. I can't speak to it, other than from what I understand, there's a paddling scene. Freemasons don't do that. Freemasons are not out there paddling anybody, despite what people may say. I have no idea if that's true or not, CEO. All I know is Jeffrey Epstein was not a Freemason. So there you go. Yes, please like and subscribe. So I did want to discuss that court decision, which I've done. I wanted to do this vote on favorite Masonic presidents, which we still have George Washington in the lead. Now we're just going to back to hang out for the next half hour or so. Again, my personal opinion for the record, I have no problem at all requiring police officers in any police force to disclose their Masonic connections, so long as those disclosures are not shared to the public, are given to staff that it's required that they have it, and that the information and disclosures are kept safe and secure and not easily hackable or otherwise obtained by those who shouldn't have the information. So there you go. Because the public, um, it's not going to be relevant for them to know. The public is not responsible for managing conflicts of interest. The bosses are responsible for managing conflicts of interest, right? So, for example, if you're getting robbed, um, and you call 911, you're not going to tell them like don't send a Freemason. If you do, you're crazy. You're just going to say we need to send police. The police are responsible for keeping you safe and secure, not keeping you safe and secure in a manner that you necessarily want them to. Right, and no different than you couldn't call up the police and say don't send a black police officer or don't send a woman police officer. You get the police officer you get. It's not your responsibility to manage conflicts of interest. In the same way, you know, police have to make those decisions. Police superior officers. I think it's fair to say the number. I think it's perfectly fine to say we've had 300 Masons on our police force, but not their specific names. Plus, it puts those Masons at risk. Unfortunately, there are a lot of threats right now against Freemasons for a variety of reasons. Social media is really pushing conspiracy theories. That's causing a lot of threats against Freemasons. Releasing the names to the public of who a Freemason is or isn't could put them at risk. And so those are the two main reasons, right? And also, again, people do have the right to their privacy, and people have the right to expect that becoming a police officer does not completely remove from them their right to disclose what they want and don't want to disclose from the public. No different than you have the right, if you're a plumber, to disclose and not disclose if you're a Freemason to your neighbor. Again, I'm not one who pretends that conflict of interest doesn't exist. It does, and it should be managed. And I think it sounds to me, this is me personally, like the Metropolitan Police actually found a decent balance between trying to manage conflicts of interest and maintaining the privacy and security of the membership of their members. I also think, though, I've said it before, I am a little bit annoyed that the majority of the focus is on Freemasons. Freemasonry is not the exclusive hierarchical organization that exists in the United Kingdom or exists anywhere else, right? And so for me, it's one of those things where any organization or group that has, let's say, more than 20,000 members nationally should automatically require disclosure, whether it be the Freemasons, the Elks, the Motorist Club, or anything else. That way, I think you fulfill your responsibility, but while at the same time you avoid, you are able to avoid singling out Freemasonry. I mean, sure, you can look at it from the perspective of medical info. Again, does everybody need to know my medical information? No, but do some people need to know it? Absolutely. Same thing with being a Freemason. Nathan, yes, he did. We'll see what happens. We don't know what the results are going to be, but we'll see. Yeah, and it's not even about protecting per se. I guess that's a good word to use though. I'm not sure if I'd use the word protect. I would say maybe respect both sides is the better approach to take, right? Thank you, Barry. That's incredibly kind of you. I'd say it's about respecting both sides. More so than protecting, right? It's about respecting one's right for privacy, but also respecting the feelings and potential harms that could come to somebody else if there is a conflict of interest. So, and respecting the fact that even if there would never be an actual conflict of interest, people may still feel that there is, and we need to be respectful of that as well. So I can absolutely respect that as an idea. So, CEO, you're right, and that's the quote from it. However, my concern is with, so it says any organization, and yet every press thing is about Freemasonry, including from the Met Police. If it's any organization, then just say it's any organization, and don't focus all of the press on Freemasonry, because it's one of many, right? It's one of many such organizations. I don't know how you define that user, but I've never seen any studies, reports, or indications that that's the case. I don't even know how you would prove that, or what that would look like. You'd have to, I've heard of some Mason police officers who got in trouble. I've heard of many more who weren't Masons who got in trouble. That seems like a pretty nonsense statement to me, user. What's not a nonsense statement is please hit the like and please hit the subscribe button. And I would very much appreciate it. We're going to give this a bit more time. I'm just going to go back to seeing who wants to join, who wants to chat. I'll be ending this stream around 2 hours in. I will be starting back up again, though, tonight at 1 a.m., so be prepared for that. Usually my 1 a.m. streams, I get way more people joining. We're just going to give it a bit more time, see who joins. I hope everybody's having a great day, and thank you everybody who was hanging out with me and supporting me during my recent trip, including supporting me on my Push for Challenge. Today's number of push-ups was 70 in honor of the 70% of those with mental health issues who claim or who report that social media has a stigmatizing effect on mental health. What can we as Freemasons do to maybe push back against that, to support our brothers who maybe suffer from mental health, as well as our neighbors? We did not, Critter. We did not. I mean, what I'd say, user, is so long as it is being prescribed to you by a doctor and you're taking it as prescribed, then I think that's awesome. And I think that, again, it's about, is the medication prescribed? And is the medication being taken as prescribed? Those are two questions that you always have to ask. And if you feel that you have any concerns with any types of medication, then by all means, what you should be doing is talking to your doctor immediately. Oh, Winter Olympics, Canada leads USA 1-0. I don't know if that's still going on. Hold on just 1 second. Canada, USA. Oh, well, hold on just 1 sec. Is there a game? What's happening? Okay, it is Canada 1, USA 0 right now. Hold on just 1 second. Canada, USA Olympics hockey. Okay, so right now, it is Canada 1, United States 0, women's hockey. All right, here we go. Go Canada. As of 30 minutes ago. Gotta say, I still, in my heart of hearts, will always support Canada. So, yeah. I love America, greatest, I always say this, greatest neighbor in the world, but Canada's the greatest country in the world. So sorry, guys, in this case, I'm supporting Canada. Barry Pulaski. Go Canada indeed. 1-0. We're going to give this another, let's say, 5 minutes or so. I will be back on at 1 a.m. Don't worry. Thank you, everybody, for joining thus far. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and leave some comments on my videos. It's been great to see so many comments lately. That really does help the channel grow by getting more engagement. We're going to give this a bit more time. Just going to wait to see who else jumps on to say hello. Like I said, please hit like, please hit subscribe when you get the chance. And thank you all for hanging out with me. Thanks everybody who continues to support my efforts when it comes to push-up challenge. I appreciate that very much also. Then no worries, Barry Pulaski. Don't do them. If you can't, for any reason, medical or otherwise, don't do them. Instead, do some sit-ups, do squats, or do breathing exercises, right? So today I had to do 70 push-ups. So what you could do is do 70 seconds of breathing exercises, maybe box breathing, or 70 seconds of meditation, right? There's a lot of different things that you could do within that time. And so whatever works best for you. It's more about just being there with me. Well, Mikey, I'd rather you not. I'd rather you hit the like and subscribe button is what I'd rather you do. Well, what if you were to do 70 seconds of just breathing exercise? Not breathing, just meditation, right? Just sitting, or even 70 seconds, which is a minute and 10 seconds of basic journaling even. Do whatever you can do medically. That's the most important thing. Do whatever you can do medically to keep yourself safe. But the point of and the purpose of the challenge ultimately is to push for better mental health, right? The physical engagement absolutely is part of mental health, but so is journaling and exercise and sort of meditative exercises and mindfulness exercises. And those are just as valuable as physical. So a little bit. I mean, I used to exercise pretty well, pretty frequently. So it's one of those things where I definitely don't think that feel like I'm getting a lot bigger, but I definitely do feel like I'm getting some growth, especially in my shoulders and my biceps. That's for sure. I've always had pretty good pectorals because I'm always wheeling, right? When you're always pushing, you get those very, very strong. So, okay, let's see. Canada leads at the end of the second period. Canada hangs on to 1-0 lead as we go into the second intermission. There you go. We're going to give this another, let's say, 5 minutes. I'll be ending this stream, but I'll be back on very soon. Well, I'll be back on tonight at 1 a.m. And I will also absolutely be posting a lot of stuff on social media coming up very soon. So be ready for that. We're going to give this another couple minutes, wait to see who jumps on to say hello. Favorite Masonic president is George Washington as of right now. Unless anything changes, we'll be doing another discussion on George Washington very soon. I've talked in the past about his Masonic history, but he's the winner, so unless we have a whole bunch of people jumping on at the last minute to give a different pick. Thanks. They've been really fun, Gooey. I've been enjoying them quite a bit. So we're almost done as well. We're at like day 14, I think, something like that. So I don't think he was a human. I mean, he owned slaves, but many different people of the time owned slaves, including many different Freemasons, for the record. So. I do not know what I can't even pronounce that name. I do not know what physiognomy means. Well, that is true. Roosevelt did not own slaves. I mean, obviously, by the time either Teddy or FDR were presidents, slavery was no longer legal in the States. Having said that, of course, there were still, unfortunately, racist views which persisted, through to today. But I think both presidents, Roosevelt, FDR, and George Washington, obviously, they're human beings, right? Which means they both had their strengths, but also their great flaws. And how you judge those, especially within the context of being a Freemason and within the context of being a president, I think one thing that presidency tends to do is it tends to, whatever flaws one has, those tend to be enhanced, and whatever strengths of character one has, those tend to grow. And so it's one of those situations where, when you're considering both of these individuals, they did a lot of incredible things. They also did a lot of very concerning things. Obviously, with FDR, the internment camps for Japanese Americans is obviously, I think, a stain on his legacy. For George Washington, the owning of slaves was a stain on the legacy. But you balance that out against the New Deal, against the founding of the country, and you kind of have to figure it out. Well, Barry, 36% of people agree with you that Franklin Roosevelt is the better choice, whereas 64% pick Washington. So there you go. You have to take that for whatever it's worth. I think that's where it's going to end probably. So but also, Barry, if you want to vote for, Roosevelt in another spot, what you can do is you can go to Twitter and you go to at Cameron ADAMSO16. Sorry. That's on x.com/at Cameron ADAMSO16. And you can vote for Roosevelt there because I do have the Roosevelt George Washington poll on my Twitter, on my X as well. A lot of people, including presidents, have hated a lot of different groups. It's always unfortunate when that happens because being president means they have all sorts of power and influence, which means them hating you is it's much worse than, say, somebody who doesn't have any power or influence hating you. I don't recall, if I recall correctly, let me double check. Andrew Jackson. Let me double check because I forget if he was or wasn't a Freemason. I don't believe he was. But we'll find out in 1 second. I'm just going to go through my list again. Oops, as I'm knocking things over. Let's see. Andrew Jackson. Actually, Andrew Jackson was a Freemason. Forgive me. He was. I should remember that. Andrew Jackson was a Freemason. There were 16 Freemasons, and Andrew Jackson was one of them. So there you go. George Washington, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, James K. Polk, William McKinley, James Garfield, Andrew Johnson, James Buchanan, Franklin Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, William Taft, Warren Harding, Truman, Johnson, Ford, and Joe Biden, though membership is disputed. I just did that poll, remembered. All right, I think we're going to end this stream. Looks like people are tuning out. All right, I'll be back on at 1 a.m. tonight. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I will see you all soon. Thank you to everybody who was part of my trip. I loved it. I'll check it out, Sam. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy it. Please feel free to share with others as well. I'd very much appreciate it. All right, guys, talk to you all soon, and I'll see you all later.